We can translate a problem into a simple percent problem. It's very easy to translate that into mathematics, and then we can then solve for what we want to know. So here we have, if you receive a bill at a restaurant for $51.23 and want to leave a 17% tip, what amount is the tip? And then you can also ask what amount is the full bill. So 17%, right? This is going to be 17% of this quantity here. And so really what we're going to do is write one of these two statements. What is 17% of 51.23? This is the same exact thing as saying 70% of 51.23 is what? Or you can say 51.23 is 70% of what? What I've changed here is where this part comes to. Is it going to be in the first or in the second? This, of course, is the same thing as saying 17% of what is 51.23. So the question is which one of these two is it? It can only be one of these two. The percentage always multiplies some number. It's never by itself. The actual question that it says is that 51.23 is the whole bill for the restaurant. The 17% tip is an additional payment, but it's going to be based on the whole bill for the restaurant. So 51.23 is actually our whole, and that always multiplies the 17. So it's not going to be this one. So what is 17% of this? So it's going to be what is 17% of 51.23? Well, this, all we have to do is multiply these two numbers together. X is already by itself, so that's good to go. Okay, 17 times 51.23 is going to be 8.7. I'm going to round to two places since this is a dollar amount. 871. So 871 is going to be the tip. And of course, you can then ask, well, what's the full bill? And that will be just 51.23 plus 871. Okay, for the next one, it says Trader Joe's sold 8,233 bags of tortilla chips, with 5,178 of these being fat-free. What percent were fat-free? So what percent, we already know what we're trying to find, the percentage. So you can see that we have these two equations here. What percent of 51.78 or what percent of 82.33 with the other number here? Well, the total, right? The total bags of chips sold is 82.33. This is the whole amount. This is the part that's fat-free. So the percent always multiplies the whole. This is not the whole, this is the whole. So this one is incorrect. 51.78 is what percent of 82.33? And of course, we're trying to find a percentage. So really all we need to do is divide by the whole. I think that's how most people would solve this, is just take the part that we're trying to find and divide it by the whole. Okay, that gives us 62.89%. I'm rounding to two places there. Okay, to win a presidential election, the U.S. In the U.S., a candidate must get 270 of the 538 electoral college votes. What percent of overall votes is this rounded to two places? So we either have 270 is what percent of 538, or 538 is what percent of 270. Well, if we think about the whole of the electoral college, there are 538 total votes. That's going to be the whole, and 270 is going to be the part of the whole. So 270 is the part, is what percent of the whole? The first one is the correct statement there. So 270 is what percent of the whole 538 votes? Just divide by 538. That gives us approximately 50.19%. Now, this actually turns out to be, if we looked at 269 out of 538, this would be exactly equal to 50%. So to win the presidential election, the U.S. candidate has to have a majority. Even by a single vote, that gives a majority. So that's why it's 270 out of the 538. Now, suppose a poll revealed that 28% of the polled Americans would vote purely Democratic in an upcoming election. If the poll surveyed 750 people, how many said, so how many, the 28%, would vote a straight Democratic ticket? So once again, we have what is 28% of 750, or 750 is 28% of what? Well, the poll surveyed a total of 750 people. And we're asking what is 28% of this whole survey? So the first one is correct in this case. What part is 28%, oops, it's going to be a decimal, of 750? Okay, we just need to multiply that out. And I get 210. So 210 people said when they were polled that they'd vote a straight Democratic ticket. In other words, 210 over 750 equals 28%. Okay, suppose you wanted to hold a rally, and as a rule of thumb, only 5% of the people advertised to would attend. If you want at least 2,500 people to attend, how many people should you try to reach with the advertisement? So once again, it's one of these two things. What is 5% of 2,500? Or 2,500 is 5% of what? Now, there's a couple ways of thinking about this problem. But what's the most important thing here is that if 5% of people advertise would attend, and you want at least 2,500 people to attend, then 2,500 people is the same thing as 5%, because both of them are who attends. Which means 2,500 and 5% are the same quantity. That means 2,500 is the part. So it has to be this one down here. 2,500 is the part, and it's going to be 5% of what? What you could also think of it as is that if only 5% of people attend, that means you need to advertise to a lot more people than 2,500. This is how many people you want to attend, or at least want to attend. So you need to advertise to way, way, way more people than that. And that tends to be the whole. The bigger number tends to be the whole. And we don't know what that number is. That's what we're trying to find. So it's just another way of thinking about how to interpret this problem. 2,500 people is 5% of what number? We need to divide by 0.05 or 5%. And that gives us 50,000 people. So we need to advertise to a lot of people to get at least that 2,500 people to attend. Okay, a shop charges 175% of its labor and materials cost for a project to cover overhead and profit. The project bills totals this. What is the cost of labor and materials? So 175% means that the labor and materials, right, it's going to become a bigger number because it's over 100%. The question is this number here the part or the whole? And you could think of this, right, as the bills total, right? And total tends to refer to the whole. The issue here is that we actually have 175%. Because we're talking about 175%, the 100%, right? Percentage is always based off of 100. 100% is the labor and materials, not the full bill, right? 175% is the total bill because that includes overhead and profit in it, which means 100% refers to the cost of labor and materials, not the total bill that results in. So this is actually not the whole. This ends up being the part. And that's because the 175% is going to be a smaller amount, right? If this is what a customer actually paid, that means labor and materials is going to be a smaller amount. And if you solve this one here, this would actually end up resulting in a larger amount than 1,023. So how can labor and materials cost more than what the shop charges the customer? That doesn't make sense in this context. So this one, if you were to solve this one, the answer wouldn't make any sense. So it has to be the second one. This one, it works differently, and that's purely because of the fact that 175%. This is a number larger than 100. That tends to make things a little bit less clear which one's the part and which one's the whole. Either way, this is going to give us this equation. We need to divide by 1.75. And that's going to give us 585.03, and this is a dollar amount, so I'm going to round to two places. So $585 was the cost of labor and materials, and so of course they're going to charge the customer more than that to cover overhead and profit. All right, a serving of oatmeal has 8 grams of fiber, or 33% of the suggested daily amount. How many grams is the full amount? Well, if 8 grams is 33% of the full amount, the full amount is going to be bigger than 8 grams, right? So this must be the part, and this is the percentage. So we know it's going to be 8 is 33% of what whole amount? It has to be the first case here. So 8 is 33% of what full amount? Just need to divide it out. And really this 33% isn't going to be 33%. It's going to be 33.3333%. It's going to be 1/3 of the whole amount. So if we do that on a calculator, it's going to give us 24.2424. It just repeats that. Well, this is actually should be is just 24, because 24, 8 is 1/3 of 24. But using these numbers exactly the way it is, this is what the full grams would be in the suggested daily amount. Okay. If a manufacturing process wastes 3 feet of material for every 17 feet used, what percent of material is wasted? Then, if 3,400 feet of material is used in a day, how much wasted material is expected that day? Well, 3 feet of material is wasted for every 17 feet used. So the question is, which is the part and which is the whole, right? We don't I've written down before, so we have to figure it out ourselves. Well, since we have two numbers here, right, we know we're trying to find a percentage, so we just need to divide the two numbers in some fashion. If 3 feet is wasted, then the percent wasted is going to be the part that's wasted over the entirety of it used, right? This is the total, the whole that's used, and 3 feet is the part that's wasted. So it makes sense that the percent is going to be 3 divided by 17. And that gives 0.17. I'm going to round it to two places, 6.5. So it's going to be 17.65. Round the percentage to two places. That's what I meant. The decimal then is rounded to 4 places. So 17.65% is wasted every single time 17 feet is used. Well, if 3,400 feet is used, how much is wasted then? Well, it has to be 17.65%. If it's going to be the same rate of waste, that means it's going to be 17.65%. This is now our new whole amount, and we're asking what's the part of this that's wasted. So we're going to do the whole times the percent, and that gives us the part, which of course is going to be equal to 600.1. 600.1 feet is how much we expect to be wasted. And the nice thing about this is that you can ask follow-up questions. Is like, well, first off, how much does a foot of material cost to bring in? And then you can ask, well, how much money is wasted then with this process? And then you can ask, well, is there a way of reducing the waste so that we can make more profit? That's kind of where these questions naturally tend to go to. Okay, if a company shows 23% or $15,360 of last year's profit was combined with last year's profit. Yeah, so 23% of last year's profit was combined with last year's profit to get this year's profit. In other words, this year's profit is increased by $15,360 from last year's profit. How much did the company have last year? And then how much did it have this year? Well, 23% of last year's profit was $15,360. So we know 23% is the same thing as the part, right? 23% or 15,360. That means those two quantities are the same. So 15,360 must be the part. The part is always by itself. It equals the percentage times the whole. The whole profit is what we're looking at here. We need to divide to get the profit. And this is going to be last year's profit because it's 22% of last year's profit. So last year's profit was $66,782. And again, a dollar amount, so rounded to two places. That was last year's profit. This year's profit, it says this was combined with last year's profit to get this year's profit. So this year's profit is going to be $66,782.61 plus the $15,360. I'm getting $82,142.61. That is this year's profit, and you can see that it increased by this amount. Okay, finally, Emma makes $3,200 gross pay in a month. If she pays $960 for rent, what percent is this of her gross monthly income? If she puts 14% of her gross pay into a Roth 401k account, how much is going into that retirement account? So first off, this is our total income in a month. 960 is a smaller amount, is a portion, a part of that total that's made. So to find the percentage, we're just going to do the part divided by the whole. Of course, this comes from the fact that 960 is what percent of 3,200? We just divide by 3,200. That's what gives us this. I'm just skipping this step because there's no need to do it. 960 divided by 3,200 is 30%, 0.3. Okay, and if 14% of her gross pay is put into the Roth 401k, that's 14% of the whole. So in other words, we're going to do 14% of the whole amount. That gives us $448. That's how much she's putting into the retirement account.